What's going on, everybody? It's Rick from Gardening with Barchuckin. I'm going to show you both my bins today. Did a big feeding on the 1 pound red wiggler bin last time, and we'll see how that's looking, and then I'll show you my worm chow bin. So you can see the moisture where the feeding was. I did add the coffee filter. Here's one of the stems from the grapes, and somebody did suggest about grinding and breaking up that grape stem, which I think I will be doing. Yeah, a ton of moisture. This side had more of the asparagus. I am actually super surprised at how much food actually got eaten in that week's time. See the seeds, and there's that cucumber skin. Yeah, well, another nice little pile. I'm going to mix this side, and then the next feeding I'm going to feed over there. And I need to be careful because there's little baby worms. Get that kind of pile back in there. I wasn't as prepared as I would have liked to have been, but we're going to make it work. So I have a bunch of wet food again: lettuce, celery, some carrots, and banana. So that's going to leak a lot of moisture in again, which is good. The more moisture I can get in there, the less I have to worry about adding, which is always nice. Let the food do the work for us. And I wanted to put a little extra down, like I said, because this is actually still frozen, so it's going to, as it thaws, release a lot of moisture. So at least it can go into that carton. Oops. Come here, carrot. And then I got a banana. So hopefully, when we check in, there's going to be a bunch of worms over these bananas. And then the celery and lettuce is pretty quick. And then these carrots, they went bad on me, so they're going to be a slower food. And I want to add some coffee grounds. Just another food source for them, for the red wigglers. I have my ground eggshells. So now I gotta see about burying this. Looks like this is a little bit dry. cool. This is what I was hoping to find earlier. They basically hollow out the asparagus. That's pretty cool. Let's see, they basically ate out all the softer material and just the fibrous bits are left. Pop that over this massive feeding. Oh. And see, look, there's still, this is my old grape stem. So they're still all in that. I'm just going to put that to the side so they're closer to the food. And then we still got a bunch over here. So hopefully they can start migrating over. I'll leave it this way. That was the old feeding side. Here's the new feeding side. You can see how the newspaper is dry. So hopefully the next time when we come back in, it'll be nice and moist over on this side too. Okay, I took the lid off, and I did notice there was like 2 or 3 worms that were up on the top by the lid. Okay, so this is the side that was fed last. I just try to give a good look on the top, see if I see any of these sluggos, which I'm not seeing. AJ over at AJ's Green Topics had a live going on, and he was asking how this bin's looking, and I was telling him it's looking really good. And then we kind of got talking a little bit about why, basically why I'm noticing less slugs, and a big reason is because of the worm chow. What it's doing is it's taking away a food source from the slugs. So here's the paper. I'll flip it all the way over just to check that too. So it's taking a food source away from the slugs. Slugs go after decaying organic matter, leaves, bark, vegetables, or organic matter in general. So even your growing vegetables, you know, your lettuces and things like that. So with them not having that food source in here, it definitely hurts them. They hatch. They really don't have anything that they can eat. So then they either die off or they're slower to hatch. And that's why I got to keep making sure that the moisture is proper in here, so I can kind of force them to hatch. And if they don't have any food, then they die. When I was feeding this food scraps, I was noticing like every 2 days I would have at least 2 or 3, you know, decent sized slugs. Since I went to this all worm chow, it's gone ahead and it has really reduced the numbers to the point where the last week I didn't find any, and in looking around the whole bin and on top, I didn't find any this week. So that's awesome. You know, I do feel that it does affect the worms a little bit. I mean, they're still getting a food source from the worm chow, but definitely the feeding of food scraps, in my opinion, is the way to do it. But as soon as I kind of know for a fact that the slugs are either completely gone or to the point where I feel comfortable incorporating the food scraps back in, that's when I'll do it. So I fed over here last time. I'm going to go ahead and feed over this way for this week. There's a leaf. Who knows if it was before I realized that the leaves were causing me more issues than solving over here. So I'm going to grab a little water because I will need to add for all my non-Philadelphian people. I normally say water, but I'm trying to make an effort to say water. And the last time I did this feeding, I ended up doing a whole quarter cup scoop. I just increased the size of where I spread it. And I'll show you when I go to do this scoop here in a second. So basically a full quarter cup scoop. Typically before, what I was doing was I would feed, typically about that range. So now what I'm doing is I'm going a little further on all directions. Hey buddy, get back in there. I'm trying not to pile any up if I can help it. Because when I would do like a half a scoop, 2 to 3 days, it was completely gone. I don't want to have so much that the worms can't eat it, but by the same token, I don't want to have to keep coming in here every 2 to 3 days. So in that worm chow mix, I do have some ground up eggshells, but I do want to add a little to the top. Okay, I'm feeling good with that. It's a much bigger feeding zone than just this coffee filter, but that's at least going to let me know where that last feeding zone was. Same thing I did in the other bin. This side's a little bit more damp from the last feeding. This side's a little drier, and hopefully I will check on this in a couple days, make sure everything looks like it is being consumed, and if it needs any more water, add it. But now this side's a little drier, this side still has a little moisture to it. I'm hoping that this paper absorbs a little bit of that moisture, and we're getting to the point where the heater's not running as much, so that we're kind of getting to that point where the bin's going to actually be pretty self-sufficient, and once I can finally start adding food scraps, it'll have a great moisture content in here. Well, thanks for coming along, everybody, and checking out both these bins. Everybody have a great day.